Ever since I was a little kid, I've had one dream, and the dream's always been to write a book. I don't know. I was a weird kid. I had all these crazy ideas when I was younger that I would sit down and I would write. But naturally, I was also super ADHD. And so I got really, really good at conceptualizing books and writing like the first chapter and then never touching it again. However, whenever I came to faith in Jesus, I decided I wanted to write a book, something that really meant something to me. And so if you're watching this channel, you may not know this is not my only channel. I have another channel called, it's just Jeff Evans now, but it was originally called That Bold Life. And it was all about living boldly for Jesus. Now, you don't have to be a Christian to watch this or anything like this. I'm just giving you a little of the backstory. And I decided I wanted to write a book on living boldly, like boldly living out your faith. And so finally, after years, I did it. This is my book. That's my name. That's crazy. Like, this is all my words. It's just, now this obviously is the author's like proof copy, but it is in print. By the time you're watching this, this is probably available to order. If you're interested, I'll have a link to my book down below, but it's called Lionhearted, 7 Traits of Fearless Faith. And in today's video, I'm going to take you through my steps of writing it. You're gonna see all the behind the scenes. You're gonna see where I drafted up the original idea, where I kind of individually wrote each chapter, where I put it together into one manuscript, to where I then hired interior or layout designers and book cover designers. And I'm gonna walk you through all of that process. So if you're here and you have a completed book, or you have a manuscript, or you have nothing at all but an idea and you're curious what this process looks like, this video is for you. And it's absolutely going to help you. So with that said, let's not waste any more time. We're going to go ahead and dive into today's tutorial. All right. So everyone has their own, organization style that they do. Mine is called Lack Thereof. But other than that, I like to use Notion. I use Notion to conceptualize all of this book. And so you'll see here, this idea originally began back in November 6th, 2017. You can see as I kind of laid out, this is my dashboard. This is intended to be kind of at the bottom, but whatever. I don't have it categorized or organized right now because that's not how I do things. I think I got this template from somewhere back in 2017. I don't remember where, but if anyone's interested, leave comments down below and I will see if I can export this as a Notion template for you to use. But I wrote here, the genre, Christian, nonfiction, or devotional. Right here, our word count targets between 20,000 and 30,000. And I think my final word count was nearly perfect. It was like 28,000 words. I wanted it to be a shorter book. I'm ADHD. I don't like to read really, really long nonfiction books. So I wanted it to be kind of a short pickup. You could be able to read through it in a couple hours. And then I had kind of some timetables here that I wanted. Now, look, I started this concept in November 1st of 2017, and I completed it that same, ADHD friends, 6 days to complete that part. And then look at the first draft. It took, 8 years? Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I would like gain interest in the book and I'd write a little more and then I would stop and then I'd write a little more and I would stop. And I just kind of repeated that process over and over. But I had the plot summary here. To be lion-hearted is to be bold, to be brave, to be determined. It is no coincidence that Jesus referred to as the lion. I outlined every chapter. Chapter 1's my introduction. Chapter 2 is on courage, on faith. And the whole idea of this book is there are 7 instances in the Gospels where Jesus looks at someone and he commends their actions, means he celebrates their actions. He tells them, hey, that's amazing. That's a good job. Do more of that, right? And so I wanted to look at those 7 things and go through it. And so that's where the concepts for these chapters came from. And each chapter, as you see, is inspired by a passage of scripture. Now, this outline would be great for you regardless of whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, whatever your topic, just a way to break down what each chapter is going to go through. I guess perhaps in fiction might be a little trickier to break that down ahead of time. I have plans for a fiction book I'm working on as well. But for right now, this is Lionhearted. And so this was my original outline. Now, as you can see, these were some of my original chapters as I was writing my way through it here. And this is just me, my brain, my thoughts, writing it down. I admit I'm not a great writer. I feel like I'm a little bit better of a talker than I am a writer. And so I think the reason I was able to complete it this year is because of the introduction of AI, because I could take something that I wrote and I'd read back through it and I go, that's not that great. and then I could run it back in through something like Claude, which is what I ended up using, and use it basically as my editor. I would take my chapter that I wrote out and I would paste it in Claude, and I would say, hey, rewrite this, fix all the grammatical errors, write it at a 7th to 8th grade reading level, and then I could go back through and make my changes to it. Basically, I was able to use AI as an editor that I would have had to have paid thousands and thousands of dollars that I don't have. Anyway, off topic, I will say there's differing opinions of AI, and I believe if you can utilize it in a way such as the way that I've used it here, I think that you're fine. Now, having it write the whole book for you and then claiming that I don't know about that necessarily, but anyway, so here's where I began to run my chapters through Claude and get those. And then finally, once I got everything roughly where I wanted it, I went ahead and created a whole new folder, and I just called it Lionhearted Finalizations. And in here, I went ahead and created chapters, so introduction, chapter 1, 2. And I actually ended up reordering my chapters from my original concept as I looked back through them and realized there was probably a more direct route that everything should take, like faith, devotion, surrender, right? Like it made more sense to do it that way than the way anyway, I'm trying not to ramble. I'm trying to get to the point that you care about. But yeah, so I got my chapters laid out here, and I went ahead and my branding and stuff, I put it in here, like some book information, things like that I want to use later on. But once I got them in here, I did my final revisions where I would go back, read back through, make my last changes. And then I took and pasted them all into my final manuscript. And so this I actually did in Google Docs simply because I was going to be sending this manuscript to a lot of different people, and it was a lot easier than uploading a file. It was a lot easier to share the link to it. And so I went ahead and used Google Docs to put my final manuscript in here, and it kind of has everything, my table of contents and the foreword that my lead pastor wrote, and then it actually has my manuscript. And I went through and I formatted it fairly well. I used what I thought was a nice, elegant looking font, which is Laura. Put it at 11. I made sure I double spaced all my lines. And somewhere in the settings, you can do this little space. I don't know that this is necessary because my layout designer did all this as well. For my eyes, I wanted it to look really good. But once I had this part done, once I had my final draft and I put my layout in, I started looking, I realized my own limitations, which I am a graphic designer. I've been doing graphic design for 12 years now. But I also know that I'm not a book designer. I could, but there are people who are experts at that. And I'm certainly not a layout designer. My experience in InDesign, which is, your layout design software, is extremely limited, meaning I have it downloaded because I have Adobe Creative Cloud, and that's about what I've done with it, right? And so I decided to go ahead and hop on Fiverr, which is honestly one of my favorite places to find talent. I believe in the past there's been some, differing opinions on Fiverr. As a graphic designer, I love Fiverr. I've been on Fiverr. I've posted my work on Fiverr before, and I've hired an absolute ton of stuff out on Fiverr. And so I hopped on here and I wanted to find a layout designer and a book cover designer. Now, this is a 2-part series because today we're focusing on the physical book and the ebook, because I kind of did both in this one. But I am also hired out the audiobook, and so I have the audiobook being recorded. It's not done yet, but parts of it is, so I'll let you hear that in the next video as well. But for this, I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to hire out the layout design. And so the book cover design is where I started because I wanted the layout design to be loosely based on the cover design. Now, I will say, for your cover design, go and get some ideas of what you like. And so what I did is I actually just went to Pinterest. Pinterest was like my favorite place to research. And in Pinterest, I would just look up like, modern book cover design, something like that. And all I'm doing is I'm getting ideas, things that I like. Like I love something simple, something like this, like something like these that kind of speak. And I also found that I ended up really liking things that had a bit of a like retro vibe. And so I actually created a folder on my computer where I saved 9 or 10 different book covers that I really liked the design style of. Like, I don't know, I love minimalistic design. And these to me looked fantastic. And so I saved a bunch of these. And so then I just hopped on here and I started looking up, book cover design, right? Incredibly basic. Now, I will say I'll cover this in the next video because I didn't do it in this video, but for my voiceover for the audiobook, I created a job brief and it was amazing. I had so many offers, so many people reading sample chapters for me. It was great. But yeah, so then I could come here and I can look, and obviously I can see the price here. Based on my budget, I can find a different artist. And there, of course, is always going to be covers they design. Now I can look at some and go, those are amazing covers, but that's not my style. Remember, I like minimal. I like, loosely artistic. This isn't my style. This is getting a little closer, right? That's not a bad style. And so I just kind of went through and I'm like, ooh, that looks really good. I like that cover a lot. I like that cover a lot. And so then I could come over here and I can click through. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I am a big time review person. Like I before I buy anything, I read all the reviews. Not all, let's be honest, I have ADHD. I read some of the reviews, and so I love when you get over here and you start see down here where it has the review. This is someone's photo. Then this is actually their review for Valentina. And so this is books that she's actually done. These are real world, like someone hired her. She created this, which that's important for me because I know as a designer, I like to put my best work at the front, right? Because there are pieces of work that I did that I'm like, I wasn't super happy with that, but it's what the client wanted. But I like being able to see these review pieces just like this. This is actually stuff that they made and really submitted. This book is really out there, and to me, that is awesome being able to see this. Of course, I can go down here to right here to where it says see all reviews, and now I can go and look at all the reviews. Sometimes I could look at the 5 stars. Sometimes I want to look at like the 3 stars. Why was it only a 3 star? What was your thoughts? Then of course here on this side, if you've never worked in Fiverr, there is a basic, there's a standard, there's a premium. The basic is just gonna be one design concept. You don't get the back, you don't get the spine, you don't get the jacket cover, right? Where if there's a hardback, you're not getting those extra things. You got to bump yourself up to standard for the back and spine, but honestly, it's still pretty affordable. But let's just say Valentina is out of my budget range. I could keep looking. This work looks pretty good to me. I like that chair yoga one. I'm just going to show you a couple. There are some amazing artists. If you want to actually check out the artists that I hired, I will have links down below, as well as a promo code. If you check out on Fiverr, make sure you use the promo code Dr. Heels, all caps. And yeah, I would look here at this person. I would go and flip through over here. Okay, there we go. $30 for a design concept, back and spine, and a 3D mock-up. That's pretty good. And I'll be honest, Ollie, is that his name here? Ollie, his work looks really good. This all looks really good to me. Now, of course, I want to go and see what he actually designed. Okay, here we go. Here's a review image. These are solid. Review image, solid. Okay, for $30, Ollie is a great option. Okay, now let's say we've decided we want to contact Ollie. I'm going to go and show you how my correspondence went with my designer. The designer that I ended up going with was Ons right here. And this is the gig that I responded to with Ons. I've seen his stuff. To me, it's very simple. What I tell you I liked? I like minimal. I like simple. I like professional, right? And I just looked through his stuff and I was like, man, this guy has really good work. And his over here, when I get into his like review work, this is all review work. This is really good work, right? Like these are very, very good. And I want to say that I might have hired him in the premium because I wanted the source file. I wanted access to those Photoshop files and things like that so that I could make, podcast covers and ebook covers and different things like that with it later on. Because again, designer, I want to have the source files. You don't have to have that. But again, if you want to reach out to Ons, I'll have him linked down below. But here's how my correspondence went. I went ahead and created a copy and paste that I kind of sent out to people that I wanted to talk to, and I wanted to get prices. I wanted to get their thoughts, their ideas. And I just said, hey, Ons, I'm looking for design work for my new book called Lionhearted, 7 Steps to Purpose from the People Who Choose. Okay, I renamed that to 7 Traits of Fearless Faith, but originally that was my idea. It was just too long. It's a Christian nonfiction book for ages 16 to 40, all about living boldly for Jesus by following the example of 7 people he took notice of, right? I'm going for a clean, modern, minimal design with a deep orange color palette. You can see I end up changing, end up going a little bit more of a red, burnt orange color, something that feels bold, simple, purposeful. I'd love your creative take on it and to work with someone who can help bring the vision to life. Let me know if you're interested. So that was the message that I sent to Ons. And then he comes back to me, he says, hey, I'm excited about the opportunity to assist you with cover design. Do you have any initial ideas or concepts? This is what I was just talking about. I was already on Pinterest, already found all those. And so I sent these over, and these are the ones that I had actually found that I really liked the design, the style of. I think I even told him that I really liked this one right here, which is called the Masculine Mandate. I loved that style. I don't know, to me it was very clean, very masculine, which is what I was going for. But some of these I really liked, like the ruggedness, like vintageness of the blood pines here. I really liked that. And I think that's how we ended up with some of the reds and stuff. But I just carried on kind of a back and forth conversation with Ons until he eventually got to me, actually some work, which you can see we talked for quite a while. And this was the final file. This is where we ended up. Actually, we had an extra bullet right here that I caught and he fixed for me within like a day. But this is the final design where we ended up, and you can actually see that, you know, fully in print right here. It came out fantastic. It's exactly what I wanted. And so that was the cover. And so once I had the cover, or at least I had the concepts of the cover, I went ahead and started talking with, let's not say started, I was already talking with a few different layout designers. That's the people who do, you know, the inside work of the book, because you can't just turn in a Google Doc file to Kindle KDP. Right? It doesn't work that way. So what I ended up doing is I went and I browsed around the same way that I found my cover designer. I went on here and I think I searched and I just looked up book layout design, just like this. And again, so even with book layout, I already had some ideas of what I wanted. I was on Pinterest and I said, I looked up minimal, or maybe it's modern, I can't remember, book layout design, just like this. And I went through and I found some that I really liked. And I was like, I like the feel of this. Obviously I'm not going to print mine in color. It costs extra. Don't know if it's really worth it. But I found some like this that I'm like, hey, I really like this. Okay, I love how that is there. I love the chapter marker. This is all really good. And so I saved a bunch of images, the same as I did for the cover design. And then I began looking for layout designers. And again, same as before, we can look here at the from, we can see where our budget is. We can even go in and we can sort or go over here and put in our budget and say that, you know, we want to stay under $30, and we can sort by that. And now we can start seeing, okay, here are layout designers that will meet me under $30, right? So then I can go through and I can find someone that looks like they do pretty good work. Let's see, how about this one right here? And then same thing, I can go through, look at their images. I can look at their reviews. Looks like, okay, maybe this is cover. I don't know, but there seems to be a bunch of cover designs that they've also done. So yeah, anyway, you can go through and look. I'll show you who I ended up hiring. I really liked her work. This person right here, Aisha. I responded to this ad on Aisha, and I responded to a bunch of ads, but I seen the work that she had already done. And to me, the work was incredible. It looked really good. It looked really clean. It looked really modern. And so I really liked her work. And so I reached out to her and I just sent her, let's see, I think I have it right here. Just kidding, right here. And I said, hey, hi there. I'm looking for a designer to handle the interior layout of my upcoming Christian nonfiction book titled Lionheart. I just wanted to try to go ahead and give as much information as I could so they had a good idea. I said the book is roughly 25,000 to 28,000 words. It includes an introduction, 7 chapters, and a conclusion. I'm aiming for a clean, modern layout, easy to read and visually appealing. Okay, so I went through all that. She says, hey, thanks for reaching out. I hope you're doing well. I would be happy to help you with your book. Could you please share your manuscript? This is why I had my manuscript in Google Docs, because now all I had to do is copy and paste over my link. Sent her the manuscript. She asked for some ideas that I had, and I went and sent over some of the ones that I really liked, right? Within a little bit of time, she was able to kind of get this all back to me and get the layout. And from that point, I was ready. I had the files I needed. I had the file for the book cover and the spine and the back, all that in one. It was all ready to go. Now I will say my cover designer needed the layout files from my layout designer before he could complete the book. And that was just because he needed to know the exact thickness of the book so he could design the spine out. Once I had the PDF for the layout design, and then I had the PDF or JPEG, I can't remember what the file type was for the book covers, I was ready to actually publish my book. So this is how we go through it. I used Kindle KDP. There are other options, but I'd have no experience with them. And so everything I'm going to show you today is going to be using Kindle KDP. Now that we're over here at Kindle KDP, it's kdp.amazon.com, and then it's automatically pulled up my bookshelf, and you can kind of see right here is my book. I have the scheduled release, but if you're going to create a new book, you may have to go and log in or create your Amazon account. But once you're in there, all you got to do to get your book ready is just hit create. And then it's going to give you plenty of stuff to fill out, and we'll walk through that. For this one, I just wanted to do a paperback. I am working on a hardcover because it's seeming like a lot of people are going to want the book just to kind of keep, since they know me personally. For now, we're going to do a paperback. And one thing that was important to note is you want to know the size of your book before you hire your artist. I do apologize. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. I intended to have my book at 5 inches by 8 inches. I just like the feel of a book this size. It's easy to hold, to handle, to toss in a backpack. And so I went 5 by 8 inches. And then for my hardcover, I'm going to go 5.5 by 8.5. But once you're here, you're creating, you've chosen paperback or whatever it is you're creating. You want to go and put in your book title. For me, it is Lion-Hearted. The subtitle is 7 Traits of Fearless Faith. If it were part of a series, you could choose that right here. If this is a certain edition, if this is your second or third or fourth edition, obviously you put it right here. Then you put in your author information. I'm not fancy, it's just me. Any contributors you have, you put it in right there. Then any kind of description that you would have, go ahead and put it right here. I worked in Claude and got my description and all that put together. And let's see, I guess. So if you have your description, just go ahead and put it in right there. This is the description. Again, I worked with Claude to get this made. Um, There we go. We'll just use this, celebrating people and how can you live that way every day, right? And then I wrote that out. If you wrote this book, you own the copyright and the publishing rights to it. If there are sexually explicit images or a title, mine does not. The reading age, you can put this in. I wrote mine for around the 14 to 40 plus range. Primary marketplace, for me, it's gonna be Amazon, but if you live in another country, one of these might be your primary marketplaces. Go ahead and work and choose your category. So for me, for mine, this is going to fall under religion and spirituality, and just kind of keep working your way. You want this to be as detailed as possible, as like niche. You really don't, I don't recommend like a very general category. You kind of want to keep working your way down. And so mine is probably going to fit in the Christian living. And then I would call this, a devotional, maybe about faith and maybe about spiritual growth is what I chose. And you see, this is where it's going to put your book in those categories. And so I'll just hit save categories. Here you can put in whatever keywords you want to use, whichever ones would kind of fit your book well, that if someone types these in, types in like short phrases, not just one or two words, right? But types in short phrases, it would go right there. Your publication date and release date are the same. Or if your book was previously published, you would do that right there. Release my book for sale now. I actually scheduled mine, but for now we'll go ahead and save and continue. I'm going to delete this as soon as we're done. I just want to walk through because I've already done all these steps. I just want to walk back through them. Go ahead and get a free Kindle ISBN. Why not? If you have your own, you can go for it. Here's two of the choices you get. If you can get color, so color is absolutely an option, which is gorgeous, honestly. But you can go, I want black and white. You can either do it on cream paper or on white paper. Because of the vintage nature of my design that I went with, I went ahead and went with cream paper. I thought that would feel a little better. Your trim size, 6x9 is gonna be your most popular. Again, I wanted a little bit different, so I went all the way down to 5x8, but there are plenty of sizes you can choose, or you can create your own, which I thought is really interesting. We can go with bleed or no bleed. So bleeds if you have images or illustrations extending to the page's edge in your manuscript, otherwise use no bleed, right? Now for me, I do have some blocks that go all the way to the edges that I wanted. Then do you want it matte or glossy? I went with matte. And right here is where you go and upload your manuscript. And so save my manuscript right here. It's gonna take it a moment to upload. Now there is a cover creator. I know nothing about it. I don't know if it's great, if it's bad, if it's good. I know nothing. Again, we hired out our creator on our cover on Fiverr. So I'm gonna upload our own and I'm gonna click, upload our cover file. It's this one right here. It's gonna take it just a moment to upload. If your cover has a barcode, you would go ahead and do it right here. Your designer probably would leave space for a barcode. Mine did. Did you use AI generated content? This is really just for their information. I'm going to say yes for text. I used some sections with extensive editing, meaning I edited it and I used it Claude, as I kind of said before. Images, no. Translations, no. And then you would be able, once it's ready, provide an ISBN. Let's see. Let's go ahead and assign an ISBN here. Just so we can, I want to show you the previewer. We're going to go ahead and use launch previewer, and now it's going to actually show you a preview of what your book is going to look like in its final printed form. And now the preview is opened up. We can see my cover. Everything is fitting inside of the margins well. You can come over here and check your quality and check for any kind of issues. It's saying the text is outside of the margins. Let's see, on page 12. So we can click, I think right here, will take us right to page 12. Okay, yes. So this is something I did fix. Whenever I got the file back, you see how it has this little, oh, there we go. The word faith drops right below that. So I ended up opening up again the InDesign file, and I absolutely could have had my designer do this. I just already had the files, and so I went in and edited them. But here we go. We can see the layout. Everything is fitting well. I ended up, again, raising that up a little bit and then raising this up just a hair. I absolutely could have sent a screenshot of this to my designer and she would have fixed it and sent it right back over to me. But yeah, once you have the previewer, you could approve it. Again, mine's showing the error, so I can't approve it yet. And once you approve it, let's see, let me exit the print previewer here and see if it will let me proceed on. I can go into save and continue. And this is gonna give you the option to set up your pricing. Okay, of course it's gonna give me issues here. So let me go into my actual copy. This is mine that is going to be available. So I'm gonna save and continue. This is my previewer and everything. It's telling me my printing cost. I will say, don't think just because that's your printing cost that anything above that number that you place it, that you're going to get the difference. You get royalties. Amazon is still going to make money on your book. You get a certain percentage of royalties on sales. Don't know if you knew that or not, but when you look at the printing cost, $2.79, you're like, oh man, I can put this at $12 and I get $10 in every book. That's not quite how it's going to work. You can actually put in your cost right here. So my book is available at $11.99 and the printing cost is $2.79 and I get 60% of royalty. So for every book I get, I make $4.41. I didn't write this book to get rich, but you know, side income is nice for all of us, right? And so you could price this at whatever you want, right? I think it's really going to depend on your book, the content that's in the book, right? But I think $11.99 is a very fair price. I would pay that for a paperback book, no problem. Okay, then once you're done, you can request a proof, which this is what I have in my hand as I received this proof of the book when I requested the proof. But then you can go and you can publish it. Whenever you go through the process of actually publishing it, Amazon themselves will go through and review it. And if there's any problems, they will let you know so that you can get those problems corrected. But from there, you'll have your listing. Just like that, you'll have your book on Amazon ready for people to order, to purchase, to get, which I think is really, really cool. If you want to use any of the resources I used, especially the Fiverr ones, I'm going to have them linked down below. And again, if you use Fiverr, make sure you use the promo code Dr. Heals. Yeah, Dr. Heals, that'll help you a lot. And again, I'll have the exact artist that I used linked down below. But if you want to shop around, go shop. There are some amazingly talented creators over on Fiverr. But hey, I hope that this helped you. And if you use this video to publish your own book, or if you've already published a book through Kindle KDP, do me a favor, let me know in the comments down below. But hey guys, I appreciate you. I hope this helped you. If it did, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're making similar videos just like this all the time. But I appreciate you. Have a good one.